Those were the words of Christy Henrich, an elite gymnast who battled with a dangerous idea of perfection. She called it a beast, an evil monster, living inside of her. And the beast, it made her a spectator to her own life, powerless to the evil as she watched as it quickly destroyed everything. From elite athlete, near Olympian, to powerless and hungry. In the end, Christy's monster was victorious. After 4 long years, Christy Henrich was finally done starving the beast inside. Christy was born in Independence, Missouri on July 18, 1972. She fell in love with gymnastics at the age of 7, and quickly, that love became her life. Under the guidance of her coach, Al Fong, she trained relentlessly, mastering difficult skills with the kind of focus and precision that made her a true contender for the Olympic team. Fong recalled the fire in her eyes, her unyielding determination. He admired her ability to overcome obstacles, but even he didn't realize how much pain she was hiding. When she started losing weight, he, like many others, praised her appearance without understanding the deadly path she was on. In 1988, Henrich narrowly missed the chance to compete in the Olympics, losing her spot by a mere fraction of a point. While others praised her efforts, Henrich's internal drive became laser-focused on one goal: making the Olympic team in 1992. This singular focus allowed the beast to take root, manifesting itself through pressures she placed on herself and the external comments that would haunt her. Henrich became consumed by the pursuit of perfection, not only in her gymnastics, but in her appearance. The pressures of the sport, compounded by the toxic atmosphere that praised slender bodies, pushed Henrich deeper into the grip of the beast. She began to drastically limit her food intake, and by 1991, her battle with anorexia and bulimia had taken a dangerous toll on her health. Christy said Fong would fat shame and compare her to the Pillsbury Doughboy when she put on any weight, a statement Fong denies. In his words, he made every attempt to convince Christy to get healthy, and when she refused, he suspended her from practice and then his gym, completely. Christy's mom believes Fong is much more responsible for Christy's disorder, but more recently doctors conclude genetics has more to do with the disease than originally thought. Another incident is often described as a catalyst for her illness. In 1987, Christy was competing at an international event when a judge looked at her and said something like, "You need to lose weight if you want to make the Olympics." And although exact words are unknown, Christy took this as she was too fat to compete. It was after this comment her disorder would go into full force.
Progress? I mean, where do you draw the line between dieting and anorexia and bulimia?
But in an interview with Dr. Gail Vaughn, who had been in therapy with Christy, offers another side, highlighting that the judge's comment wasn't the root cause of Christy's eating disorder, but it did serve as a trigger to her insecurities and perfectionism. On her path to the '92 Olympics, Christy spent 3 years training 9 hours a day. In that time, she would allow herself only 1 apple a day, which would eventually become 1 slice. Then have episodes of binging and purging large amounts of fast food. She considered food poison. There is no other moment that highlights just how much she was struggling than this. At the 1989 World Trials, Henrich had the lead after 3 rotations. Unfortunately, in her last routine, floor, she suffers 3 falls, nearly breaking her neck in her last pass.
The drama. And now you're looking at Christy Henrich, our leader after 3 rotations. She's ready to compete on the floor. What is putting pressure on her is the fact that Wendy Bruce, the lady who's currently in 2nd place, did so well on the vault. She wants to finish first. albeit not factoring in the Brandy Johnson situation.
Of all the gymnasts here, she probably has the best facial expression. She really gets into the music and performs. Many of the others, they just do the routine. They do it well, but she performs it, and this is something all the others really need to work on. Very low on that landing, but pulls it out.
Well, we saw her with that in the warm-ups. She didn't look real strong in the warm-ups.
I think she could be a little bit tired. She came in early, started warming up long before anybody else, stayed at the end of the compulsory yesterday, and worked out. That was a completely blown past, yes. We'll have to look again at that at the replay and see exactly what happened.
You could see her blink her eyes.
It's a major mistake, but it shouldn't jeopardize her position on the team. She's had such a tremendous competition. It's a shame to end like this.
Let's see how she can do her dismount.
She's supposed to do a double back.
Dr. Vaughn goes on to say, Christy lived with an intense shame. She was terrified of failure, terrified of gaining weight. Her perfectionism and obsessive-compulsive tendencies were all tied to this fear. She believed she could never be enough. Not for her coach, not for her family, and not even for herself. Her battle with food had begun long before the judge's comment. Since she was 9, Christy had been meticulously checking the sides of cereal boxes, counting calories, avoiding fats. Her love of cooking for others became one of the most heartbreaking signs of her illness. She would feed family and friends, offering them more pie, while starving herself, or purging after secret binges. Christy won all-around silver at the 1989 U.S. National Championship, was a fraction of a point from becoming an Olympian, and nearly took bronze in the '89 World's uneven bar final. But still, in her mind, her weight was preventing her from real success.
One particular judge, he said, "You're too fat. You're too fat to make the Olympic team." I was less than 90 pounds then. I didn't make the Olympic team, so, I guess I was too fat to make the Olympic team. She was right. It's the only thing I could think of. The only thing.
Her fiancé, Bo Moreno, watched helplessly as Christy struggled. He described how Henrich hated the illness that had overtaken her, how she desperately wanted to escape it, but felt powerless to stop its progression. It wasn't simply a desire to lose weight. It was a compulsion, a monster inside that controlled her. By 1992, Christy's battle had reached its darkest point. Despite briefly seeking help, she withdrew from therapy, telling those closest to her she could handle it alone. But she couldn't. She spent the last 2 years of her life tirelessly fighting the beast, in and out of the hospital as much as 15 times, and while under the care of doctors, she was not getting well. Near death, she would jog down hospital hallways. Terrified calories creeped in her system while under supervised meal periods. She was too sick to compete. The beast had stripped away her strength, leaving her body fragile and her Olympic dreams shattered. In the immediate aftermath, there were steps taken to address eating disorders and mental health in gymnastics. The United States Gymnastics Federation launched wellness programs designed to educate coaches and provide athletes with resources to combat the pressures that led to Henrich's death. Yet these efforts were short-lived, and by the early 2000s, much of the progress had been undone.
An American gymnast who barely missed going to the Olympics has died after a battle with anorexia nervosa and bulimia. Christy Henrich, who was from Kansas City, Missouri, was 22 years old. She nearly qualified for the 1988 Olympic team, but missed by a fraction of a point. After performing in the 1989 World Championships, Henrich had to pull out of a tournament the following year because she had grown so weak. She retired from gymnastics 3 years ago.
Today, we remember Christy Henrich, not only as a gymnast, but but as a young woman who fought a battle few could understand. May her story help us break the silence and bring awareness to those still fighting.